All right. All righty, all right. All right, all right. Okay, I was nerd sniped the other day at late in the evening, and I've been stewing for a couple days. So now we try to fix the bugs. Specifically, I'm working on this. So I would call it a clean room representation of macros, meaning I didn't read any papers about macros when I started Steel. And as a result, the behavior is sometimes suspect. I haven't ever read an implementation. Well, so the snipe was I was getting repeatedly sent bugs. I was getting repeatedly sent bugs with the Steel macros. So the first one was this one. So it was like this. Here, I'll blow it up for you here. They sent me this in Racket and said it works. It works in Racket, but it doesn't work in Steel. Now, to be fair to myself, I don't really document the syntax case implementation quite yet because I know it has flaws. It actually has quite a few flaws, but largely it's just undocumented. Like that's the biggest problem. And I also like hand rolled it, so I don't have a huge test suite, but it works for a subset of stuff that I use like in the standard library. But I haven't documented it well because I know there's more issues, and if I document it well, people will discover it, and I just haven't set aside the time to work on it. So I was like, you know what? I think I could solve those problems. And the problem with working on the macro system is it requires a certain headspace. I need to be like in the right frame of mind because it's unreasonably complicated and a little bit mind bendy. So I went back to it and I said, okay, what was wrong? So there were a couple things wrong. Is first, if you call syntax to datum, that will take like a syntax object and it will return like a raw list form of it. So in this case, you might say like, okay, well, what's the difference? Morally, it's like there is a special like syntax object thing that contains stuff versus just like a plain old list. If that makes any connection. And this has like span information in it. I mean, that's like the minimum. It's like the span, the column, or the the byte range where the thing occurred within the file, and uh, the source file. Like it'll point you where it came from. This is just plain old data. There's just like it's symbols in a list. But this lets you like mess with the underlying stuff. This was not returning an interned string. So that was the first bug. So if you called like EQ on something that came out of it, EQ question mark, it wasn't working. So this was just failing. So that was the first part. And then syntax is itself a very complex macro. and that was failing to properly handle quoted values. Specifically, if I ran like syntax A versus syntax quote A, I was getting different results. So I had to handle that. So that was one part. So I immediately fixed that bug. Reported back, I fixed it. Got hit with another bug. And this is when you basically were taking a macro and returning a macro. So let's say we have a macro, make macro, that has these patterns that I'm not even going to touch. It's going to take a name and it's going to find a new macro. It's going to take that new macro and return another macro. Hold on. Had to let the dog out. Okay, so the problem here was that I was failing to handle syntax rules, but I was successfully handling syntax case, which is kind of weird, because syntax case is more complicated than syntax rules. But the reason that worked, for whatever reason, is because syntax case is actually implemented in terms of syntax rules, which is the opposite of some other implementations. Yeah, it's Lisp. This is Steel. This is my scheme implementation. Yeah, this one's mine. It's thank you. Been working on it a while. It's got some problems, but it works pretty well. What you're working on? Well, what is it like? Or if, in short form, that's cool though. Compilers are fun. Nice. Does it have macros in it? I would suggest not putting them in. They're really hard. They're really hard. Well, you can make them easier, but they're fun. Yeah, so this is the first thing. This was broken. With a little bit of love last night, I managed to get it working. So now this was broken as well. And it was specifically broken if you had... Okay, templates for generics. Okay. Well, templates for generics, I think, are fine, assuming your error messages are good, which is saying a lot. And that's non-trivial. But if that was the route you went, I think that's fine. When you said macros, returning macros, my mind went to make the word macronomicon. Yeah, that's a good one. Macronomicon. Anything nomicon is fun. Macronomicon. I don't know. You put the emphasis in the middle. It's kind of fun. Oh, it's already been done. Isn't that the Rustnomicon or something like that? That's the thing. Programs writing programs. Closure talk. Nice. Yes, this is in Rust. For better or for worse. So it's designed primarily for embedding. Like, that was the first point, was for embedding, but now it's kind of just like whatever. Embedding is I work on the embedding API and like the standalone. I try to jump around and try to, like, the way I look at it is it's like it's my thing that never runs out of stuff to do, so I never have to invent a project. I can always fall back on it. I got something to work on. Okay, you use C. That's fun. Okay, so I also added a JIT recently. That was really fun. What did you end up using for the JIT, if anything? Or you could have done it yourself, which would be really impressive. Okay. That's cool though. Nice. How did it end up? Like, were you happy with it? Perfect. See, that's perfect. My website is also my website is a static site generator made with Steel, but there's really not much on it because I kind of got lazy. But it's not like served with Steel. But that's cool. Nice. But this is if you're familiar with Helix, this is Helix. And so I do plugins with Steel. Bounce checking to be fast was a pain. Yeah, I'd be curious. Bounce checking to be fast. Like, what part was? I mean, I'm asking a lot of questions. Feel free to stop responding if you don't want the smoke. But it's kind of like a dumb question. But what did you have to do? Was that, you mean just like eliminating bounce checks? I would imagine that like the bounce checks have a fixed cost. Or was it just like lifting bounce checks outside of loops and things like that? Okay. Eliminating is coming. I recently had so for my JIT, part of the problem with the JIT was that like the way, okay, merely making bounce checks as cheap as possible. Okay, so I can relate to that. It's because Steel uses reference counting, and for a long time I was just using like the standard libraries reference counting, and then I really wanted to like inline reference count operations, and I couldn't do that unless I wrote my own. So I got around to doing it myself. Oh yeah, don't worry, it's a pain in the ass. It is painful. It is painful. You have to do a whole pass to convert things to boxes and do all sorts of crap. Yeah, so I have both. I have reference counting and a tracing GC. It's a chore. But I do a bunch of work. There's a bunch of optimizations to eliminate as much boxing as possible so that the tracing GC doesn't have to kick in. And even the tracing GC, I've done a bunch of work to make it fast. So I do marking in parallel. Yes, marking in parallel. But it has stopped the world. God forbid. It has stopped the world, though. Signals to catch a null pointer trap in the CV. Yeah. Isn't that what, like, Java, the JVM does and stuff? Isn't that what they do? They do traps to catch, like, so that they can just have, like, more or less linear control flow. But that, if you invented it yourself, major props. Okay. Well, back to our regularly scheduled program. I'm trying to have macros return macros. That's the goal here. And I did achieve it successfully. But people were there was some interest in understanding how the macro system works. So I was just kind of like going to walk through it and then try to fix a couple bugs and try to implement some new stuff. Because there's some cool stuff in Racket that I don't implement yet. For syntax objects. So it's like this. Here, I'll try to pull it up here. Yes, aggressive inlining. I also found that to be the case. It's like you can get shocking performance wins with just like I remember I was looking at some benchmarks and I was running them, and then I'm like, okay, I turned off inlining and whatever. then you turn off like mild inlining, or you turn on mild inlining, and then it's like just like extra 10% faster. And then you increment the inlining again. You're like, oh, it's like twice as fast now. Yes, I've also found this. I don't have a solution yet, but you know, it sounds like it's a fairly sophisticated project. Is it open source, or is it just for yourself? What's it called? How do I find it? I'd be curious to take a look at some point. Oh, it's all good. I'll find it. What is it? VLD. Okay. Can't type. I just pushed a commit 26 minutes ago. That's commitment. I love it. Oh, nice. I was making Raylib bindings myself for Steel not too long ago. I ended up instead just making a game in Rust using Raylib with Steel embedded instead of like directly having it driven by Steel. But I just, you know, we'll get there. There's only so many hours in the day. Nice, very cool. I'll take a look at some point, more in depth. Oh, and you got a little playground too. Nice. Oh, this is very cool. Very cool. Nice, man. Awesome. All right, yeah. So I have so I'm going to try to get some stuff. Oh, not you. How did you go to definition in the browser? That's cool though. I guess it's just like part of the editor, whatever you're using. If you implemented that, I guess. Monica? Okay, cool. Yeah. I think that's what I use. I don't remember what I use. Let me check. Man, I don't. Hold on. I don't even remember the link to the playground. Try it on the playground. I don't remember. But someone added Helix bindings. So you can use Helix bindings in the web browser, or in the editor here. Only like a subset. It's not completely implemented, but it's pretty cool. Same idea. All right, so for the macros, I had a couple bugs. I fixed them recently. So the biggest thing was macros. First, we're getting like aggressively expanded because just of the way things are. So then like this was getting expanded incorrectly. So if you had any references, identifiers here, they were getting whatever. So I fixed that earlier. Now my current bug is like I can run this code here. Ignoring all of the extra printing. So this works fine. Like this is only the last part. I have a lot of debug prints on. So what this is doing is we first have a macro up here, which then produces another macro, which then when called just returns 100. And then we do the same thing again, except it's a little different. But we do the same thing again down here. But now if we're at the REPL and we do this twice, it crashes. It does not work. And the reason for that is I kind of wrote the macro system, at least for this. So there's two kinds of macros. There's define syntax is like how you start a macro, and then you do syntax rules. There's syntax rules, and then there's syntax case. So they're a little bit different. So syntax rules is he is still streaming. You're catching the whatever we call it, the macros. It's the macro time, macro explanation. So first, I was explaining earlier, I don't know if you caught this part. I have a clean room, as clean of a room as you can possibly have, implementation of syntax rules. Meaning, I didn't really ever look at how anyone implemented it. I just looked at what it should do and then tried to make it do the thing. As a result, it's kind of gnarly. Like, there's some edge cases in there that I definitely am not handling, but as it turns out, it doesn't need to be like that good in order to be functional. I think a lot of schemes have some rough around the edges issues with their macro systems if you dig deep enough, but I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that mine isn't perfect, but so far it seems to be working well. And there's a whole like templating and, you know, pattern matching implementation of what's it called? Syntax rules. So I started with syntax rules because those are defined, I believe, in like R5RS. They have syntax rules. So that's where I started. And so syntax rules has no, it's just purely pattern matching. So it's syntax in, syntax out with destructuring and all sorts of stuff. And, you know, templating and expansion of all these various things. So you can do lots of cool stuff. So like a bunch of the core features of Steel are implemented purely in macros and purely in syntax rules macros. So like quasi-quote, so syntax, quasi-quote, quasi-syntax, you know, or, something as simple as or, and, when, unless, cond, case. These are all, even like while, all the threading macros. So you can do things where you say like, oh, you want to pass like a value through to the first argument of something. Like if you do something like this, ignore all of that. You do that, it returns 10 because you're like threading it through to the first argument. You can pass like a bunch of stuff through. Okay. So I'm reasonably confident that my syntax rules implementation is like pretty good. I know there are issues, but in general, it's pretty good. So a couple years back, I was like, let me do syntax case. So the difference between syntax rules and syntax case is mostly that you can do arbitrary computation instead of just templating and pattern matching. Pattern matching and templating, that is. So what that might mean is, take this example that was given to me the other day. Is like, we're not just saying like match on the thing passed in and like template it out. So if we look back at the standard library that I was pulling up, and we go to like when is pretty straightforward. It's just, you're basically just eliminating the else case, and you say I'm not going to worry about it. So instead of like if blank else whatever, you do just like when true, or like when thing do thing. And so this is just a simple template. Like when you pass in when, we're going to bind the first expression is the test case, and then the rest that follow will get like plumbed into the then branch of the else, and then otherwise we just return void. So like you can't like check anything about like what is this? Like what is a? Yeah, I don't know. It's a black box. You can't introspect. You can't like do extra work there. You're also like limited to the pattern language. So sometimes it's a pain to like express what you're trying to do in terms of the pattern language. It just can be. I think you get pretty good at it. If you're like living in these macros, you can do like a lot of really sophisticated things purely based off of like the ellipses. So like ellipses, if you do like b dot dot dot, that bounds to like either one or many. I don't remember if it's one or many or the rest. So this binds to like a list of things. That is like all of the remaining arguments. And then if you use it, it flattens it. It expands it. So then begin b dot 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 is just like a begin list flat. It's not like nested. This would sort of get appended there. Similarly, like you can implement cond this way, and there's all these like varying cases of cond, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, but let's say you wanted to check, hey, if they passed an identifier, do this. If they passed a constant, do this. If they passed a list, do this. Well, you can do that in syntax rules. The pattern language is sophisticated enough to match on like constants versus identifiers or like lists. There's ways you can do that. Constants are a little bit tricky, like generic constants, but like if you were matching a direct constant, like if they pass 1, 2, or 10, you can pattern match on that. But it's difficult. And so also there are things you simply can't do with syntax rules. I think it's like strictly less expressive than syntax case, although again, you can do a lot. So I was like, okay, how do I like fit syntax case into the ecosystem? How do I make it happen? So then I devised probably one of the most cursed implementations of syntax case. But at the same time, I'm pretty sure other schemes actually do something similar. Like I learned there's a thing called like, what is it called? Register ER macro transformer or something like that. Yeah, macro transformers, ER macro transformer. Let me see. Explicit renaming. Yeah, so like if we look at this, there's this explicit renaming macro transformer. So I don't really know what this thing is. I'm going to be honest. I just know it exists. I have never read this page. I know the word exists because I've seen it elsewhere. But it's effectively like plain old. I think it's a slightly more sophisticated like Lisp def macro. If I'm understanding it correctly. If anyone in the chat is more enlightened than me, please feel free to correct me there. But I think the idea is it's a slightly more sophisticated def macro. And when I say def macro, I mean like list in, list out. So if you do like Lisp macros, they don't necessarily, again, I'm a little out of touch with the Lisp ecosystem, like Common Lisp or anything like that. So again, feel free to correct me. But I'm pretty sure their macros are like list in, list out, and they don't mess around with syntax objects. But again, I could be wrong. So this looks to be like list in, list out. So I implement, I have a very fundamental primitive that's def macro that like lives underneath the hood. Excuse me. So I have def macro like underneath the hood that basically does this. I don't call it this though. I have my own form of it. So that lives like way under the hood. And then what I do is I set up like environments. So also the Steel compiler is unique in that like unique is a strong word. Other things probably do this too. But an instance of the runtime has two runtimes. There is a kernel environment and a kernel namespace. The fact that it has its own separate environment is just an implementation detail, but there's like two namespaces. There's like the kernel and everything else. So the kernel is used to expand def macro macros. So def macro macros like live in a sandbox. So they can't like access the file system. They can't access the network. They can't do a bunch of stuff. It lives purely under the hood. So then what I do is I convert syntax case macros into syntax rules plus def macro. That gets evaluated. So then I do the pattern matching and binding of template variables with syntax rules. So like if you type syntax rules, or if you type syntax case here, like this explicitly gets converted into like a syntax rules that dispatches to another transformer that then calls the function with the extra values provided, does all of the templating, and then like your return value gets templated on the way out. So like I have no clue. Like I actually don't know. I would love at this point, now that I'm like done with my implementation for the most part, to go back and read like what other languages do, what other schemes do. But this is how I do it. And it's messed up. It's really complicated. But I'm pretty sure it's in line with what I think it's in line with what Racket does by happenstance for the most part. Now my syntax rules macro expander is reasonably unique, again, in the fact that I didn't look at what other people did. So people have asked me like, oh, do you use set of scopes? Do you use whatever? I got no clue. I got no clue what I do, because I have not read the set of scopes paper. I think I watched a talk on set of scopes years after I wrote my macro expander, and that's it. So I don't know. So as it is right now, we've got like the way, this is kind of the core of it. I produce a def syntax, which is like post first level of macro expansion. Okay, Chicken and Chibi scheme use ER macro transformer for implementing syntax case, but the implementer said it's only an approximation. Okay, so I think I'm basically doing the same thing then, but with maybe a little bit of nuance that is lost on me about ER macro transformers. And also the thing I'm getting, the vibe I'm getting from basically every scheme is that they all think that they have done it wrong, which I think is funny. Perhaps maybe Racket, but Racket like says it's not a scheme anymore, right? Racket's like, we're our own thing. We came from Scheme, but like we're Racket now. So then they're not doing anything wrong. They're just doing like what Racket does, which is awesome. But it's funny because like I feel like every time I start reading the internals, there's always something like real interesting with respect to like runtime or something like that. Like I said, I haven't looked at the macro expanders for these other ones. But okay, so like the long and short of it is like you could look at it this way, is that I take the syntax case expression, I like destructure it manually. I generate this fake syntax rules. I eval it so it exists in my runtime. I gensim a thing. Then I create an expansion function which just dispatches to like the pattern matching thing. I say grab the syntax case, find which index it is, parameterize the syntax bindings to those things, call our function, call it a day. So there's like a multi-level step of like doing callbacks where I'm like, I'm using my syntax rules pattern matcher, but I'm running the arbitrary evaluation in the kernel. And the kernel sits underneath the hood doing stuff, which is fun. So I managed to make a bunch of progress with the bugs. And so I found one more bug, so I'm going to fix it. So if I run this, I mentioned if I run this once, where this is this file. So it's like I make a macro and then I make another macro. I run it twice. One time it works fine. I run it a second time, it fails. So the reason that is because I set up environments within the kernel, and there is a quote top level environment. Because one of the other problems is that like there is a distinctive, the top level is evil. That's a quote from someone that I think is in the racket world. The top level is evil. It sucks, man. Because like you can't make any assumptions about like anything at the top level. You just have to, people can mess with everything at the top level. So I wrote a bunch of this expander, like sort of inside of a module, like assuming everything was inside of a module, naively forgetting the fact that the top level exists. So what's happening is when I run a second time, the top level module is getting like garbled. It's getting garbled. It's getting reset. And then like I just run into an error because I haven't actually reset all of the things at the top level. I need to instead be like mutating it. Since the top level exists, the top level is just like it's around at the REPL. So, but like this is kind of what an expanded transformer looks like. I set up all of these parameters with the dynamic wind and the this and the that, and then we do the thing, and then we template stuff out. So I'm gonna try. First, I need to like delete a bunch of this pretty printing shit that I have, so that I can at least see what's happening. Okay. Let's see how we're doing here. Okay, there's a lot here still. Okay, that should be good now. Oh, there's one more thing, but I'll come back to that module one. That's the one I actually want to look at. How's Grift coming along? See, here we go. We have def macro. See, it's under the hood here. We got def macro. Okay, cool. Okay, here we go. So we have syntax transformer module top level. So what happens is when I load this, we're doing all sorts of stuff. Actually, I do want to comment some of this out. I want to keep it. I want to minimize. I think all I need is the first one to replicate this. There we go. Okay, cool. So I've minimized it a little bit. And in fact, I'm going to minimize it even more. Okay, awesome. Ignore the LSP, because the LSP is not updated with my latest changes, which this was erroring on the LSP. The LSP is running the macro expansion in the background. It's not updated with my latest changes, and therefore it's breaking, and so it's horrendously ugly. I'm considering disabling the LSP while I fix this. Yes, the macro expansions are scary looking. They are. But it's not that bad. It's not that bad. So you want to make a purely lazy Lisp with nil as false and IO only as an effect system. Yeah, it kind of feels like that's orthogonal to your effort of embedded no standard Lisp, no? I mean, I guess you could do it in both. But I feel like you're kind of in too deep with your existing one to like make it a purely lazy Lisp. Unless you like every return value is a function, I guess. Until you use it, I guess. Yeah. So the macro expansions are ugly as hell. That's definitely true. But there is also a thing called the macro um, macro writer's bill of rights is that it's not the macro writer's job to make the generated post macro expanded code look good. It's the compiler's job to make that shit fast anyway. It's their bill of rights. That's the saying. That being said, it's a little give and take, right? You don't want like if you have the opportunity to produce better code from the macro, like you should. Because that's just like, if it's like if you're the person making the macro system and the compiler, you're just like making more work for yourself. You know what I mean? But I think the idea is like in general, you shouldn't worry too much if it generates to a bunch of shit, assuming that shit is obviously optimizable in some capacity. If it's not obviously optimizable, then it is what it is. But there's a lot of cases, like I kind of watch the Racket development every so often. Like I just kind of like check in. I like to what is it called? Lurk in their Discord and varying message boards. Thank you. If you turn the JIT on, it might be faster. Steal _ JIT equals 1 on your environment variable. But every once in a while you'll see a PR go up where it's just like, oh, I'm messing around with like, they like, some macro somewhere in the Racket standard library, and they're like, yeah, I cleaned up the generated code and it like shaves off X% of like bootstrap time or something, or like initialization time, because it just like makes it easier on the rest of the system because there's like less crap getting thrown at it. So steal with the JIT is not enabled by default. If you want it enabled, you just have to add the flag. Like if you wanted to test it out yourself, you can do it pretty easily. You just have to add the feature flag JIT2 to steal core, and then steal _ JIT equals 1 for your environment variable. That's it. I have tested it. Excuse me. I have tested it. It works. It like doesn't crash. It works pretty well. I didn't really like use it enough to test noticeable performance improvements. I kind of got sidetracked with a bunch of other stuff, as you can see. But it did seem to make a decent performance improvement on the terminal emulator, the embedded terminal. I noticed rendering to be a little bit faster. I'm using CraneLift. So CraneLift, he is using CraneLift. Yes, I'm using CraneLift, which is the that's the thing that all the WASM people use. So like part of it too is one of the reasons they were cool with Steel is because it was smaller compared to like WASM time, and then if you add CraneLift, it just gets like a whole lot bigger. So whether or not they want the JIT in there, I think is like up to them. I think the JIT is cool. I'm obviously going to use the JIT build when I'm like more comfortable with it. There is a lot of work that needs to be done on the JIT, and I haven't had the mental capacity to focus on it. I mean, they also make CraneLift, so I guess they can do whatever they want to it, right? But yeah, so like my initial performance of the JIT was like, as it is right now, if you just turn it on and you throw code at it, the code will be like 10 to 30% faster. Just like full stop. There's like not much that needs to get done. 10 to 30%. Like the floor, or whatever, floor or ceiling, whichever way you're looking at it. It's just like it's just blanket improvement, which is awesome. I love that. if you go to then, like, I have a bunch of extra flags that I haven't enabled yet. I'm letting them simmer. Okay, I have a bunch of compiler optimizations I haven't enabled by default because I'm scared. I'm trying to let them. I need to work on my test suite a little bit before I turn them on, or just a little bit more, I guess. So, like, I have some more aggressive inlining. I have a bunch of different transformations that remove a bunch of boxing that I haven't applied yet because, like I said, I want to do some more testing. If you kind of like enable all of those, it's even faster usually because the boxing fucks with the JIT a little bit. It means you can't do some things that you previously can do. And then I have about a list of like 400 functions I need to just manually write in CraneLift, like inlining them for primitives and stuff. And if I get around to do it, like on toy benchmarks that I have found. So, like, for example, there's a word count benchmark or something. Like, that it's like an R7RS benchmark. I took that and I said, all right, I'm going to go through it and like screw with it. And I made sure to inline like all of those primitives. So like there's a port, the port operations and some of the other things. And I inlined those and I wrote the CraneLift out specifically for those, the IR for that, or builder or whatever you want to do. I emitted operations for that. And I did a bunch of I just did a bunch of stuff. It was like 5 times faster. Like, I think I went from like 27 seconds to like 5. So there is a lot of room for improvement on the performance if I spend more time with the JIT. And part of that also was, inline square root. Yeah, it's gonna happen. I started because this is what I'm talking about. I got sidetracked. So like, since I use reference counting, like all of my drop operations had to then call back to the runtime to call drop. And that was like no good. Like that's no good. And so I was like, no matter what I do, if I'm doing like anything with any reference counted object, like I'm hosed. Because I have to call to the runtime. And that was just like kind of slowing me down no matter what. So I have on a branch implemented like inlining the reference count operations. So I wrote my own reference counting library. I inlined the reference counting operations, and that was like significant improvement. So like the branch that was a pretty significant improvement. And then I need to just kind of go through each of the primitives. So like, the math operations, make sure I write the inlining stuff for that. Yeah, crank hog for all benchmarks, 10x improvement. Of course, heavy is the hand. Heavy is the hand that cranks the hog for 10x performance improvements. That's the play. That's the play. So let me try to fix this bug because it's a fun bug. But there will be JIT dev on the channel at some point. I will stream it. Unfortunately, it's kind of the worst shit ever because when you run into a bug, it just crashes and it's not fun. I thought about it because I was working a lot on it in like November and December, especially over the holidays. And I was like, oh, I could stream this. And it was just me like with my hands in my hair, just like staring at the computer for like 10 hours straight. And I was like, if I had to talk during this, I would have gotten really frustrated. So I did not stream it. But then eventually I got through the promised land. Yeah, it was awful. And it was always like, some undefined behavior from me being like off by 1 on some bullshit stupid thing that I couldn't discover. And eventually it was like all the test pass. And I was like, okay, every test pass, like every program I run seems to just behave. Like obviously there's bugs in there. Like I'm not that confident in it that I'm like, there's no bugs. Like I'm sure there's still bugs in Steel, for Christ's sake. So it's like, it's whatever. Yeah, isn't that fun? Turns out if you code, you can get anything. You can have anything happen. Yeah, so the biggest deal is that at some point that will be done, or JIT will be much faster than it is today, even though it's already pretty fast. The straight up performance of the runtime is also just pretty good. Like, it's not amazing, but there are certain tricks that I do that I think make performance better. I think I'm leaving some performance on the table. I need to spend some time with it, but you know, it's okay. You know, day by day. All right, let me how does Crane Lift prevent you from doing insane stuff in the generated code? I don't think it really does, to be honest. You can do anything. I mean, like, yeah, I mean, that's kind of that's, I think as soon as you produce code at runtime, there's nothing you can do, right? Like, it's off the rails of the Rust compiler. Like, it has no choice. Like, Crane Lift itself is reasonably well constructed, that like it's like the library isn't the one like producing the undefined behavior, but like when you produce code and then you call into it, there's an implicit assumption that like it's it does what it says you made it do, and then you call it, and if you told it to do something bad, it will just segfault or something worse, nasal demons or whatever. Isn't that the phrase? I do be using transmute. Don't call on me. People gonna be start making like AI generated issues saying, you're using unsafe in your code that is a JIT compiler that produces code at runtime. You need to remove your unsafe. I'm gonna be like, fuck, dude. What do you want me to do? First steals yeah. First steals too slow. Now is this, now is that. They're moving the goalposts, though. It's okay. I understand. Oh, yeah. Rust is great. It's like every time I think about writing C, just like for the... Like, I don't know what it was. Like, I wrote... At my last job, I was writing Python basically for like 4 years. And like, there were days I would wake up and I'm just like, I just want to write C. Like, I needed to just to like feel something. Like, I don't know what it was. I just wanted like I needed the bits, man. Like, I needed direct access. And then but every time I like sit down to like do that, I end up just writing Rust. Which is fine, I guess. But it doesn't have that a certain je ne sais quoi, as they say, a little something. C has that something. And I think it's just like you're driving an engine. You have like direct control to the engine, which feels awesome. Yeah, when I learned C, I didn't really get it. Like, I think I just didn't get it at the time. It didn't really clock. But now I would agree. Like, now looking back at C, like every once in a while I peruse some C code here and there, you know, and you look at it and you're like, oh yeah, I get it. Although the whatever they're called, the macros that they have, I fucking hate those. My eyes cannot read them. The if defs and stuff, I can't read them. It like breaks up the code in a way that just like I lose it. I cannot follow it at all. Well, some of them are fine, all right? Some of them are fine. I'm talking about like some wacky if defs like shoved into shoved in line in the code. Like, that makes it really hard for me to read. But okay. To our regularly scheduled program, I want to fix this freaking bug, because otherwise I'm gonna lose it. Okay, see, that's like a normal macro though. That's just a, you know, array for each list, whatever. That's just like, that's fine. That's what macros are for. That's cool. Okay, so then I run this again, and you're telling me it freaking works? I thought it didn't work. Oh, that's curious, isn't it? Let's try that one. Okay, let's do this one then. Yeah, macro making macro. Shockingly hard and stupid. There, insert meme, no real world usage found for macro that makes macro. Stop doing macros or something like that, right? Okay. This one. So, yeah. So it's producing this module, which is wiping out what was there before. So I need to fix that. So there's this code that does like syntax transformer module. Okay. So what we need to check is first we're going to say like if the environment equals top level, because I'll have a better solution that's generic across modules. But in general, if you're like reloading a module, I don't actually know what I want to do if you're reloading a module. But for now, I'm just going to scope it to the top level. So first, if we're looking this, if we're at the top level, I'm just going to see if this shit exists. Oops, excuse me. We'll say okay. So what I believe what's happening is I instantiate this environment which I use inside of the kernel to like do some shit with expanding the syntax case macros. For now, I'm going to see. So let's see. It says top level macro environment exists. Okay, so I must have created that already somewhere. That's fine. And then it does exist, but we're like redefining it. And I think what I want to do, we'll say like let macro of choice is if in we'll do like syntax transformer module just gonna try this for now. If it exists, we're going to change this to like whatever. And then I'm gonna use that down here. We have quite a bit of like really whack stuff going on. So inside the kernel, there is a macro. So when we're doing macro expansion, we run into this and we say, is this shit in the kernel? Okay, then I go into the kernel. I then like evaluate. I construct a bunch of a code as a module, and I then hand that to the kernel to macro expand. And that's what's happening. So I call this syntax transformer module, which like sets up a bunch of crap. All right, that's all. Instead, what we're going to do is instead of redefining it, I want to update it in place. So this, instead of redefining it, I'm gonna try to update it. Whether or not that will work, unclear. I don't know if this is the right spot to do it either. So this produces, it's like, where do we define? Okay, so we take the name. Okay, so we'll check here. Okay, we syntax transformer module, and then I insert the environment. Okay, insert the environment, and then I do all this stuff, and I create. Do I put provide anywhere? Provide definitions. I do. Okay, I do this. So then I go like this, and I call that, and it's proto hash. Okay. So then I think I just want to do a hat, like a union. I think that's what it is. I want to union the hashes of the existing one. Let's see if that frickin' works. I don't know. We'll see if that works. It may just immediately fail to run at all. Okay. Okay, now what happened? We got a new one. Macro expansion unable to match case bar syntax. Okay. So this is the question now. What happens if I do this in Racket? Because maybe this is fine. Maybe that error is expected. I don't know. So let's say if I run this. Okay, and then I do like make macro to bar. And now I have like bar. Well, that's curious, isn't it? Oh shit, hold on. I guess I have to wrap it in syntax. Maybe I'm relaxing a constraint of Racket in Steel, but you know what, that's okay. Then we have make macro to bar, and I call bar. Okay, so you have to wrap it in syntax. That's fine. I guess I don't have that restriction. Implicit conversion there. Okay, now if I call this again, I call bar, and then I call make macro to. Okay. So it does just work, which I think makes sense. So now why isn't that working here? And I believe it's because we are expanding this. Bar exists already. So we're re-expanding that, which it shouldn't be. So now we have to go back to the expander. And it's like syntax, it's like syntax rules. Yeah. So now I have to say if we're in syntax case, or if we're in define syntax, don't do that. So this would be if the name is define syntax and we haven't overwritten what defined syntax is in this context, then I'm going to not macro expand that, but I am going to macro expand that. All right, so let's try that out. Does Clojure have macros? Does anyone know? Okay, that didn't work. Hold on, the dog's at the door. Doggy on the stream, doggy on the stream. Doggy on the stream. Hey, bud. He was hanging out with me all day. He loves to play in the mornings and the evening. He likes to play all the time, to be honest. But in the mornings, like my desk here, the bed is right behind me. His name is Sherman. This is Sherman. Hey, bud. He's like right. Okay. Here you go. The bed is like right behind me. You might even be able to see it. I don't know. He's like right here. Hey, buddy. He like goes to the edge of the bed and he stands over it and he just barks right in my ear. It's crazy. He's like, if I'm not giving him attention, if I'm like trying to like I'm working, whatever, he comes up and he just right in the ear. He knows that he's figured it out. Could you believe he's 10 years old? He looks like a puppy. It's unreal. Okay, bud, come here. Okay. So we still had the issue. We're still at the issue. But I will see why. We're calling here. Yeah, he's old. But I think he's going to live till at least 100 years old, minimum. Minimum. 100 years. All right, let's just let's do some debugging. Okay, so we're not getting here. Why, though? Let's see. It could be... Could be that. So a mistake I've made in Steel, if you consider any mistakes, I do make mistakes. I know I seem perfect sometimes. If I made any mistake in Steel, it's because like when I started it, like what it turned into is not. They're very different. Okay, that didn't do it either. So the problem mostly is that I kind of wrote Steel to not be like this really flexible language that like Scheme is. I didn't really have that intent. In fact, I don't love it, but it it's cool. So I have certain like quote reserved things, and sort of the way I do my parser and stuff is a little bit different than maybe your generic scheme might look like. So like my parser is a little bit more my parser is just a little bit more rigid, if you will, less flexible. So I have like reserved tokens. They're not really reserved though. I just immediately get rid of them. So it's like on my to-do list eventually to get rid of that. But okay, so this is still misbehaving. So we have defined syntax, and I'm macro expanding that, which is bizarre. I don't quite know why. Maybe there's multiple expanders though. So maybe it's in a different expander that's getting macro expanded. So let me just go ahead and, again, this could be better, but let's just go check the other ones. Let's check expander many, perhaps. I don't know if it would be there. But we can check there too. There's many macro expanders. No, where is it doing that? Okay, let's see. So we're looking for bar in the top level, and it finds bar, and then we're unable to match the case. But where? I think it was like, it was here. So whatever this one is. So we're hitting. It could be that. No. If I hit syntax rules, it would bail out. Let me just let's just do this. Let's just do this. Okay. Expanding this. Okay, so it's happening in a different expander. So there's multiple expanders. Visitor mute ref. Kernel expander. Of course, this is the kernel, isn't it? Perhaps it's the kernel expander. Perhaps it's the kernel expander. Let's see. There we go. Let's try that. It's almost assuredly this. Yes. Okay. So now in the kernel expander, I just need to check. Oh, but define syntax. Isn't define syntax itself a macro? Oh, that's tricky. Because in the kernel, define syntax, define, isn't that define syntax? No, I have a special define syntax. Okay, we'll try that. So if it's this, okay, this is some of the ugliest. You ever just like write some code and then you're like, never gonna look at that shit again, and then you do and you're like, I hate myself from however many years ago. That's me right now. I regret this. All right, so what am I doing? If this is okay, I'll just do it like this. I think I'll just do if it's defined syntax, get mute 2 self.visit arg return okay. Let's try that. This will need some love later, but I'd like to just get it working first. Cool. I got I was working on eval with namespaces not too long ago, and I managed to do the whole export namespace thing. So that was exciting. All right, boom. That's not good. Not good. Not good. Okay, so maybe I was right. Maybe I was right. I can't do that. Let me do some more debugging. It's like pre-expansion, post-expansion. Let's check this out. Okay, let's see. Okay, pre-expansion is bar. Yep, okay. So pre-expansion is just bar syntax. Okay, that's because bar is in scope as a macro. Oh, what the fuck? This sucks. But bar isn't a macro yet. Because I'm like overriding it. Oh, this sucks. All right, let me take another look here. Yeah, exactly. Macro hell, man. This sucks. I just wanted to work. Like, can't it just work? Okay. It'll work. It works once. It works once. We got boom. And then what is this map? This map contains syntax. I guess let me just. Let me just do a little kernel expander. Just do a little sum. Okay. Okay, so the kernel expander. The kernel expander is hitting this. But is it actually pre-expansion? Okay, so defined syntax is... Do I put this thing in the frickin'... I have that kind of defined syntax. Oh my god, I do. God damn it. Oh, this is annoying. And I got defined syntax. Defined syntax is how I bootstrap the whole thing. Oh, that is tough. Okay, so this is how I bootstrap it. Is it needs to be called defined syntax. So, okay. What's happening is we define syntax. I then go to expand it. So I think... Yeah, I then go to expand it. I think I can do my trick. I just have to do it after the expansion. Before I revisit. So it's like... So here I'm checking... Define syntax rules. Is that what you do? Is that what Griff does? Probably. I mean, it's basically what I do. What, you think you're better than me? We're close, though. Man, I just... Okay, yeah, see, I have syntax rules as native and derive syntax case through that. It's kind of messed up. I think I should have done the latter. I think I should have done syntax case native, but it's besides the point. It's too late now. You must have missed the start of the stream because I went through the whole thing. It's not impossible, actually. Through God, all things are possible, so jot that down. Or something like that, right? I use syntax case as the base pattern matcher. I mean, I'll show you right here. Define syntax, then I take syntax case and I convert it into a gensimmed syntax rules inside of the kernel. I then generate a function that provides the templating information dispatching for my patterns. I then call that function, and I do all of my case bindings and yada, 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 parameters. And then I do the thing. That's it. That's all I do. So we turn syntax case into syntax rules plus some stuff. There's a lot of stuff that happens. It is handcrafted artisanal code by the utterly deranged. Guy at work messaged me that he was surprised I used as many Claude tokens as I did. Little does he know. I let it cook in a loop to try something, and Didn't work. Turns out that loop was run for a long time, maybe longer than it should have. But it did not succeed in fixing what I wanted it to fix. Okay, so I need to do this post expansion. So before I visit again, I need to check if we've actually. Honestly, this is hacky as hell, but we're gonna do it anyway. So it is, and it sucks, in my opinion. I don't know why it's as bad as it is, but it is very flickery. It's very flickery. Like, it just flickers a lot. Like, there are sometimes it's completely fine, but there are others it just flickers the whole time. And I'm like, what is happening here? I would have thought by now it wouldn't do that. Okay, so we're going to check this. If let L dot or actually can I say something potentially controversial? I kind of like React. I'll say it. I thought it was cool. I used it for a summer for an internship. I thought it was kind of cool. Like, the whole time I was doing. Now, you also have to understand, I wrote some shit for like 8 weeks or 10 weeks or whatever, and then I never looked at it again. I made like a warehouse mapping software, which worked pretty well. I was kind of sick with it. But I've never written any React since, so it's not a glowing endorsement. If that's any consolation either. If I were to write a front end now, I simply wouldn't. Because I'm based, and I wouldn't put JavaScript in my web apps. Does that help? I don't understand. I like everything. That's the difference between you and me. I have no hatred in my heart. Everything is cool. You realize how many like thousands of probably hundreds of thousands, millions of man hours have gone into the JVM? It's an unreal piece of technology. It's got to be one of the most sophisticated things probably ever produced. It's really cool. And it was like the bleeding edge of software. Like, it's where a lot of research went. And then all of that research went to JavaScript engines instead. And even then, JavaScript is like really cool. Like, it is crazy, but it's really cool. Tons and tons and tons of effort have gone into making JavaScript go fast. And it's incredibly admirable. And React is cool. Like, the idea about it. Idea is cool. I don't write JavaScript though. So. All right, this shit is not working. Yeah, well, if they designed a better well, let's see your ass go design the language for the web in 1994 or whatever. I don't see you doing anything. Making the language for the web. Thou shalt not cast stones from a glass house, or whatever. It's like the second Bible Christian reference I've done. I just think it's cool. Everything's an object. It was pre-AI. I saw I don't remember what I saw today. I don't know, it was there. I saw something today that's got it it's got me centered on that. I've literally like never been to church. Actually, I've been like 3 times, probably maybe 4, across a wide span of years. I got nothing against it. Just not my kind of scene. The singing's cool though. It's kind of pleasant. Sounds nice. That's right. Matt is a biblical name. Should I just go on my Holy See arc? That ends in disaster though. I don't know if I want to do. I don't know if I want to go out like that. The I took a lift. See, now you're talking. God's fourth temple is an operating system. That could go hard. That could go hard. OS and Steel is coming. It's only a matter of time. If I get laid off and I got nothing but time on my hands, I'm streaming OS, Dev, and Steel day one. 14 hours a day. I'm not getting up. I'm taking no breaks. I'm not stopping until that shit boots. I took a lift the other day, and the guy was rocking Gregorian chants. It was unreal. It's kind of a vibe, to be honest. Like, it was like 7:15 a.m., and he's got the Gregorian chants on full blast. See, I feel like it'd be kind of sick to write an OS and then like have every design justification followed by like as God intended. And you just leave it at that. Yeah, I would be missing morning service. The problem is I also like to watch football. And that's on Sundays. The two don't go hand in hand. It's unfortunate. Lisp OS, I mean, I think it can be done. Computers are fast these days. Like, it doesn't have to be like the fastest operating system known to man. It just has to be like good enough to boot so you can like mess around with it. I don't think anyone's going to be shipping a Lisp OS though. Like, no one's going to be rocking that as their daily driver. But you probably can do it. You can boot into Emacs, I think. I think you can boot into Emacs. Me booting into Helix to develop my Helix OS. Steel powered Helix OS or something. I don't know. Am I like a traitor to the Emacs ecosystem by trying to rebuild it but with Steel? Many people are asking this. I don't know how to fix this freaking bug, man. Is it even a bug, or is it just like what it's supposed to be doing? You know? If you've never attempted it, you should try for like a half an hour. Or not. Honestly, it doesn't really matter. It's cool though. I like it. I used it for a long time. I've used Vim a lot. I've used Emacs a lot, and now I'm locked in on Helix, and I'm not changing till I bite the dust. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Or I quit the profession or something. There's nothing else I'll use. Well, I'm not suggesting you need to dedicate it. I was just saying, like, it's neat because you can, like, boot in and immediately start, like, ripping eLisp and, like, see the results and be like, oh, this is cool. And then, like, you can choose to do something with it or else. That's what I'm saying. Like, at this point, I feel like you can get a very similar experience out of Helix, hopefully. And I would love to get it to that point. Plus, we got a JIT compiler now too. Like, we're gonna be cooking, man. It's gonna be cooking. So we're hitting pre-expansion. Pre-expansion bar. This is concerning. Because, like, we are not even in. Are we even in? I mean, we are in a defined syntax, no? Because I've produced a defined syntax. How are we doing this, though? I have an idea. I'm really hoping it's not this, but if it is, then I'll fix the bug until the next one comes through. This is gonna blow the output. Also, I'm thinking about dropping Ghosty. I've been using it for a bit, but I think I'm gonna swap back to WesTerm. But my own fork of WesTerm that I've been rocking on for a little bit here. Okay, I don't know what I expected. Why? See, exactly. That's why. Because I want to configure it with steel. Is I have a fork of WesTerm where I started messing with the Lua bindings and I've been slowly converting them to use steel instead. So then I thought that would be fun. It's kind of rude, but I mean, I'm not like intending anybody else. I did not make much progress, but I got it so I could like screw with it. And then I also did some stuff where like I noticed rendering shortcomings in WesTerm at high resolutions and refresh rates. Specifically resolutions. And I was able to profile and remove some shit, change things up, which again, I haven't like made any upstream efforts or anything like that because I don't know if they're actual genuine like across the board improvements for everybody on like every system ever. I just noticed that I'm like, well, I changed the code and the shit got faster for me on like 4K. Whether or not that is true on something else is fine. But I got it so that like within Helix, I could like rip full screen versus not full screen. And it would change the terminal. which I thought was sick as hell. Because I also want to be able to like change the font from Helix and Steel. Look, we're slowly but surely building the OS from the bottom up, from the top down actually, top down. All right, one more biblical reference. I saw a thing. This is probably like 10 years ago because I've been playing a little Minecraft with the boys for fun, and it's illuminating some memory. I found a blog post from some guy's like personal website that said Minecraft was a very religious game because a big you shouldn't build. There's something about building structures on sand or something like that in the Bible, like you shouldn't do it. I don't know. Haven't read the book. But they were like, in Minecraft, when you place a sand block, it falls unless it's built on top of solid ground. And they were like, and that's based. And I was like, that's crazy. Yeah, building your own terminal is like a ridiculous amount of work. I think it's not that hard to like get something that works, for the record. Like most things, the devil's in the details. It's like getting it to like be performant enough where you're like, yeah, I'll use this over obviously performant alternatives. I think is that's your challenge. Is that getting to that point? Build your house upon a stone. That's right. That's right. See, little did they know they were actually talking about Minecraft. The Bible's actually about Minecraft. I should make my own Minecraft. Thoughts? Steelcraft, perhaps? You have an OS that boots into Steelcraft? And you pop open a little terminal? Your shell, like the default desktop environment is actually just Steelcraft. Could be cool. Could be the move. Could be the move. Okay, this experiment did not help me because I cannot read it. There's too much going on. Yeah, to open apps, you have to right-click them. Exactly. Exactly. Oh, no. It did. This did help me. It's exactly what I thought it was. Okay, awesome. This is exactly what I thought it was. I don't know exactly what to do. I don't know exactly what to do quite yet. But it's what I thought it was. That thing I was talking about where the tokens are different from the tokens are different from just strings. It's crazy. I mean, I got too many projects to do. Maybe I should just angle to get let go at work so that I have time to do my projects. Thoughts? Okay, I know what the problem is. I'm going to try it out. So the issue is I'm going to duplicate all this code for the sake of proving that it works, and then I'll come back and clean it up. Something's wrong here. I see. Let Claude work for me. You know, the problem is I don't want to do that. That's my problem. I'm just unfortunately not interested in doing that. Okay, we're duping all of the code. Just bear with me for a moment, please. I'm just seeing if this is the problem. I'm just seeing if this is the problem. And then I delete like all of that. And then I just do all right. Let's see if that does it. I don't think it will because I was a little cavalier. Cannot borrow data. I was a little cavalier with it. I worked on the Steel docs yesterday. If anyone noticed any changes, if you're just constantly refreshing the Steel docs, like me, if you're really interested in Steel and love it and have it open on every tab on your desktop at all times, I updated them, working on adding more. But I felt inspired, so I'm going to keep chugging along. I'm going to try to do a little bit every day. There we go. It's been done. Many people were saying it couldn't be done, but it can be. So this is awful, but if it works, it works. If it works, it works. So now, let me just delete all these here prints. Try one more time. Okay. We will continue trying this. And then I was thinking about trying to implement, what the fuck is that? Where is that coming from? Perhaps there. I think I want to try to implement that like free identifier thing or whatever it is. Nice. Nice. Okay, let me make sure this works. Okay. And then the ultimate test. You've got to be fucking kidding me. It doesn't work. All right, what is this one? We got make macro 3. Because foo exists already. I thought this is what I just fixed this. I thought I just fixed this. This is devastating. This is devastating. I just don't quite know what I'm trying to do. Okay, so now we have a new error. This one at least fails like off rip, which is, I guess, fine. Interesting. Okay. So this one, if I run this, it says macro expansion unable to match case foobar baz. Okay, so let's take a look. So this is in probably here, because I'm calling make macro 3 of foo 2. Yep, okay. Understood. I guess we have to run everything back that I just did. So let's try that. We'll take this in here. And we'll try to dupe it. Going to load. What did I run? That. Okay, so I have a minimal reproduction. Okay. So why? Is it because it's syntax rules, perhaps? Could be. Could be because it's syntax rules. Macro expansion on a foobar baz. Okay, so this is producing another macro, but then this is getting macro expand. So I guess we'll go back. We'll go back to the kernel expander, and we'll just see what's happening. We'll see if we're doing anything in the kernel expander. Okay, so we are expanding syntax rules. Okay. Let's... I'm building myself... I'm weaving a web of impossible to fix bugs. Okay, it's because it's the same shit. It's the same thing as this. It's because of my silly special cased syntax rules nonsense. Okay, so we have syntax rules, and so for syntax rules, skip the first two. Let's try it. Let's try it. I just want this to work so I can go do something else. Well, I kind of want to do I do want to do the free identifier binding or whatever. I don't actually understand what that means. No, that doesn't work. Oh my god. Let's see. One more time. One more time. Because if I'm in syntax rules, I just need to expand the bodies. Actually, that's probably not true. I'm realizing there's more bugs there. Okay, I'll continue working on this later, but okay, now we're at make. Hold on. Okay. We got through the first bug. Now it's a new bug. Now we're into make macro 4. What the heck is that? Okay. Doggy. Make macro 4. Make macro 4. What is this one? Okay, so we're back at syntax case, right? Is that where we are? Yeah, I think it's the same problem, but now even... This isn't quite right. I'm realizing I'm not expanding. I need to also skip the patterns. I'm realizing now. I need to also skip the patterns. But for now, I will come back to that. I'll come back to skipping the patterns. So if this is the case, I'll just do the same thing as I did up here. Basically the same thing. Syntax case is what again? Syntax case. This would be 0, 1, 2, 3. Horrendous code. But it is at least slop that I produced. Am I right? There we go. You better be practicing your Counter-Strike over there, everyone. It's the new hotness. Gold, silver, electrum. You better be practicing, man. Hit the aim maps, hit the spray maps. Work on your B-hops, work on your smokes, your flashes. If I got time, I don't know if I'll have time. I got a lot of chores to do tomorrow, but I'll let you know. We could queue up at least for we at least get one comp game in, maybe. We won't be able to queue Premier. Our ranks are too far apart. We'll be able to do comp though. But I got a bunch of stuff to do. Oh, what do we got here? Query tenders. Nice. Nice. Dude, I would kill in Minecraft for some chicken tenders right now. Nice. Oh, it's hovering around? Or am I just losing my mind? That's moving, right? That is moving. It is moving. A single tendy? Where was it from? Homemade? Homemade, or was it from somewhere? Nice. I've never been to Legoland. Heard it's fun though. Alrighty. If I'm in San Diego, I'll let you know. I'll let you know. All right. It's working, but I will need to make some more test cases. Make a test case that has bar in the pattern. Actually, I don't know what'll happen. I don't know what will happen. I don't know when the expansion happens. Like, what is the ordering of the expansion? I guess it would happen. I guess I can check in Racket. Okay. What am I trying to check is like... Okay, so we have these two macros. And so if I do like make macro 3, foo, and make macro 4 bar. Curious. This isn't even legal, I guess, in Racket? How is this not legal? Oh. Excuse me. Okay. Yeah. That's fine. Okay, so that is working. So now I've introduced foo, but foo is here. If I then make a new thing here and I do like, let's say foo, where you pass in foo as a literal, we'll return 67. Okay, so if I do this, that's fine. So now let's take that and pass in foo. What do we think it will do? I have no clue. 67. All right. And I think that's because the args are not expanded yet. Yeah, I can send this. I can send this. Okay, so I'm pretty sure if I do this on steel, it will not work. For a variety of reasons. Which is a bit of a bummer. Bit of a bummer. Trying to see why, though. Sorry about the ad. I didn't break it. I meant to take a little break, hit the bathroom, but I forgot. My bad. Okay. So what am I trying to do? I think if I do this in steel, like if I naively take this and I just rip it back over to whatever this test case I had here, I'm pretty sure it is not going to work. Oh, I'm actually so insanely cracked. Okay, it doesn't work in that one. I know that, though. I know why, but I'll fix that. So the top level is messed up. The top level is messed up. It works in one spot and it doesn't work in the other. It's because the top level sucks. I hate the top level. I hate the top level so much. And now the question is, can I figure out why? Macro expansion unable to match case bar foo. Why did it not work here? This one's different. I thought I knew why. Now I'm looking at it and it doesn't. This is odd. This is like no one would ever write code like this, though. Am I like that worried about it? I'm not like that worried about it. Stop with the spec, man. The spec says nothing about this. Show me the line in the spec that has this test case in there. There's no way anyone thought about this shit when they were writing the spec. I don't buy it. I don't buy it. There is no freaking way. There's no way that they were like, well, you see, when you have syntax case and generated from a syntax rules macro, that actually, like, this is supposed to happen. It's like, I don't know. And what's bizarre is it works for me 50% of the time. It works 50% of the time. I ain't reading all that. Sorry it happened to you, or congrats, or whatever. It's like, what is, like, because now it's saying I'm not matching anything. So in one world, I run this and it matches. And then in the other case, I load it up and it isn't matching. It isn't matching. Now the question is, why? Oh, goodness gracious, man. And I have to get very into the weeds. Okay, so we're running macro expansion unable to match case. And that is down, I think it's going to be in here in this world. So I think if I fuss with that a little bit, we may be able to get to the bottom of it. Okay. That's progress. So let's just go ahead and print. Let's check what it was unable to match against. Seems it doesn't work in Guile. I'm preying on their downfall. That's correct. A Guile L is a steel W. Can we get W's in the chat, please? Thank you. It just means that I'm cool for being for this. I'm just saying. Everyone talks about this spec, all right? And then when the rubber hits the road, someone's got to implement the spec. And the people clambering on about the spec are not the ones implementing it. And as it turns out, sometimes there's weird things in the spec. And this appears to be one of them. Because Guile is pretty freaking conformant, all things considered. What the hell? That was not what I was expecting at all. We are something is deeply incorrect here. I have never actually tried the Shea Scheme REPL, no. I've never tried it. Okay. Okay, this was very unexpected. Why is it 100? Where is that coming from? It's supposed to be this. Oh my god. I know why. Okay, I understand. Far too many people gloss over a spec and algorithms implementation details when the entire program is exactly that. Yes. Wait, what does Guile do? What does Guile do? I guess I can try in Guile. They don't even have freaking display line, man. What is this? It does exactly what happens to me. Let's go. Okay, so what's happening? I'm fine with this for now. I'm tired of trying to fight these macro expanding, creating macro things. Is that in this case, literally in the definition of the macro, it is what I was talking about, by the way. That I do know what the problem is. I could fix this problem. I don't really feel like fixing it right this second. Because I haven't eaten dinner yet and I don't really feel like doing it. I'm going to stream though for a little bit longer because I'm enjoying this. This is getting expanded. So like at construction of the syntax case, this is getting macro expanded. It should not be. So this is turning into 100. No real world use cases that I'm aware of. I think they're okay. That's not 100% true. But the use cases that I'm aware of for fancy macro stuff like this pretty much lives in the like I'm building a DSL style use case where you're really trying to construct like an alternative front end embedded DSL kind of thing. Where that often comes up is shockingly compilers. Like if you're trying to write like a compiler or VM or something, there's a lot of opportunity for simplifying work by building macros that produce macros that then do a bunch of other stuff. But quite frankly, I have never really ever run into that myself. And I certainly haven't in Steel. I'd like to leave the door open though. I mean, like, I think it's cool. I mean, it doesn't hurt anybody by working on this besides myself, and it gives me something to do. So keeps the brain sharp. But okay, that's good. That's good to know. I know exactly what I need to do, and I will come back and fix it. So basically it's like in the syntax case example, iterate through the to do. Iterate through the patterns. Find the first, or find the pattern template. Do not expand those. But for everything else, this is fair game. And I think I only have to do that in like 2 spots. It's like syntax. No, I'm going to have to do it for both spots. I'll have to do it in a few spots, but syntax case. Oh, I guess I can do if it's syntax rules or syntax case. Like, or actually, can I? Isn't syntax rules like formatted like completely differently? Syntax case. Yeah, I don't think I can do this. I think I gotta do it like. We'll do this one. Syntax rules would be 0, 1, 2. Okay, but to do this, I think I need to go here. So each thing here, if let expert kind list else just visit the thing. I think I basically just have to do that multiple times. That's like, I'm running out of room here. We love nested code here. I love deeply nested code. It's my favorite. Okay. So then I think I need to just do this. The other spot that I'm checking this instead of doing what I'm currently doing. And now I'm cautiously optimistic that it will work. So I lied and I said I will fix it now. There we go. He's done it. Many people were saying it could not be done. So now one more test. We'll do syntax rules. That's right. Light work. We'll do syntax rules. Now this, I think it won't work. No, it just works because that's why he's the GOAT. That's why he's the GOAT. It's absolute cinema. Past me was just so good at implementing macro system from scratch. Anyone here in the Bay Area? I don't think so. We got San Diego and we got somewhere not the Bay Area. There's a Lisp meetup again. I don't think I'm planning to give any talk, but I was going to stop by a couple weeks. You know, a shocking number. Shocking being like 20. Maybe less. No, there was probably about 20 people. Let me count. There was like 8 people in the front row. There was like another. Yeah, like at the peak, there was like 20 people who showed up like at the peak. A lot of people left early though. It's in I guess it's Sunnyvale, Mountain View. I forget. I think it might be Sunnyvale. I don't know where on the border it is. California, Bay Area. Are you in the Bay Area? I thought you weren't in the Bay Area. If you are, feel free to stop by. Mountain View. There we go. Mountain View Hacker Dojo. It's like the 23rd or something something like the 21st, maybe 21st. I'm definitely gonna stop by. Then hit some Chick-fil-A after. You already know the vibe. I went to the last one. I gave a little talk. It was a tough 3 hours. It's a long time to sit. I think if it was like an hour and a half, I'd be hitting a lot more of them, just because I think like an hour and a half is really easy to stomach. But it was like 3 hours long. I was getting sleepy. It was fun though. You're in Massachusetts. You in Boston? I lived in Boston for a little bit. I don't know if you're in Boston. I'm making a lot of assumptions here. Massachusetts it's a state for sure. I lived in Boston for a little bit. Are there 3 hours of talks? Kind of. It's like basically 3 hours of talks. Maybe it's like there were 2 talks before, and the first one was like an hour and change, and then the next one was also like an hour, and then there was like these lightning talks, and I did a little lightning talk. You ever go to Boston though? Oh Jesus. Okay, the dog just closed the door on himself. Come on, Sharon. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was a lightning talk. I literally didn't prepare. I just asked if I could talk like when I got there. They asked if I wanted to do like a long form talk and they had one in January or something, but it was in San Francisco or December or something. It was in San Francisco on like a Tuesday night, and I was not making it to the city on a Tuesday night for like a 3-hour meetup. It just wasn't going to happen. I would have had to get home. I would have work the next day. Wasn't going to happen. If it was like a Saturday, I would definitely do it. So maybe not, because I don't think I'm going to, they don't, like, I'm not prepped for like a long form thing or anything. They already got slots full. But for the next one, after this one, if they're going to have it again in like near me on a Saturday, I would do a longer form talk. I think I got enough. I could talk for an hour. All right. I got one more thing I want to try to do tonight. And this is this stuff. Cuz now I got all that other crap working. So now we try to implement this. So I don't quite understand like what this is doing, because it's like, for me, free identifier means something different than what this means, and I think that I'm wrong. So this says return true if the identifier A ID would bind B, or vice versa if the identifiers were substituted in a suitable expression context at the phase level indicated by phase level. Okay, I don't have phase levels, all right. I'm sure I do, but I don't. That shit's not included yet. We're not there yet. I will get there eventually. So we're just going to do bound identifier. Is this in the spec? There's no way it's in the spec. Maybe it is. Oh, maybe it is in the spec. It is in the spec. Okay. Okay. If I do this, I'm like pretty close to like implementing everything here. And then we just stress test the shit out of it. So that's good. Okay, so let's see. So this, yeah, and then I can build the OS after I finish all of the like 400 inline stuff in the JIT, and after I boil the ocean. All three of those have to happen at the same time before I can start the OS. Okay, so we need to understand what the heck this means. Returns true if the identifier would bind B or vice versa. So let's just look at the examples. So we have check. So we're checking if bound identifier XY, let Y is wrong, and then let X binds Y. So this is saying, are these things the same? So if you pass in the same thing, AA, they're bound to the same thing. But this is this the same? It's not the same as equals, is it? It can't be. I guess I don't quite understand. Here, there's more here. If anyone understands, let me know, because I don't. All right, let's see, bound identifier. Are used to compare identifiers according to their intended use as free references or bound identifiers in a given context. Free identifier is used to determine whether two identifiers would be equivalent if they appear as free identifiers in the output of a transformer. Because identifiers are lexically scoped, this means free identifier is true if and only if the identifiers I and D refer to the same lexical or top-level binding. For this comparison, all variables are assumed to have top-level bindings, whether defined or not. Literal identifiers appearing in syntax case patterns, such as else, are matched with free identifier. Similarly, bound identifier is used to determine if two identifiers would be equivalent if they were to appear as bound identifiers in the output of a transformer. In other words, okay, if this returns true, a binding for one will capture references to the other within its scope. A binding for one will capture references to the other. In general, two identifiers are bound only if both are present in the original program or both are introduced by the same transformer application, perhaps implicitly. Bound identifier can be used for detecting duplicate identifiers in a binding construct or for other preprocessing of a binding construct that requires detecting instances of the bound identifiers. Two identifiers that are bound are also free, but two identifiers that are free are not necessarily bound. Is it just me or is that confusing as hell? I'm not smart enough. This. Yeah, but this is like the last thing, you know? This is like I already got through hell and back. This is like the last part. If I do this, we are certified cooking. But like, imagine it works though. Imagine we get there. Imagine we get there. Because it's like I have quite a bit of information available for me. So let's just go look. Let's just go look. What is available? What is available here? Okay. So we can look at with syntax. That might illuminate something. Okay. Yeah, with syntax produces these syntax bindings. So let's just what does syntax bindings give us? Okay. So let's just like let's pull an example. Let's pull an example that they have. The following definition of unnamed let uses. See, if I use this, everything's going to frickin' break. Is there like a simple use case here? I mean, we can try this one, but this may have problems. This may have problems. Okay, let's just. I'm like not. Of course. I need to do. That's a small bug. That's a small bug. Okay, perfect. That's a small bug. Let's just define. How do I do that? Syntax case. I just kind of do it up here. Okay, so I'll just do like define free identifier equals XY. I'm just going to be like fucking false or true. I don't know. I don't remember which. We'll go true. We'll just say it's true. Syntax rules expect a list of introduced syntax and at least one pattern body pair found two arguments. Man. I did something wrong. What did I do? I feel like that didn't. That's not what it said to do. My crazy is not doing anything. It's just it's just a flat. Is that supposed to error or something? Is there some syntax I'm missing? Because this is like flat. This is just saying and. My build failed. This isn't good. Okay, we'll come back to that. We'll come back to that. Build failed. My tests failed. It's devastating for the brand. Okay, Am I missing something here? What is this? If you put just like some shit that evaluates to false, like, does it just like not match? Like, am I crazy? Are we seeing this? Because it just has that. And that doesn't do anything. Nothing happens. Syntax rules expects a list of... Okay. Oh, man, this is impossible. This is impossible. It just keeps getting worse. Just keeps getting worse. Okay, so I do this. And then what happens? All right. Let's see. Okay. Doing something wrong. Oh, something is wrong. How is this syntax case? Wait. Or is that what's supposed to happen? Fuck. Define syntax rules, syntax case syntax. What the fuck is syntax case syntax? Oh, man. This is crazy. I don't even know what the bug is now. I'm just lost. Oh, this is what I get. Syntax case syntax. Okay. Okay, okay. This is like busted. But let's try to understand why. Oh my god. I'm cooked. Everything is going poorly. Everything is going poorly. Now we're getting stuck here because Cond is special. Let me see. Yeah, define syntax. Boom. Is expanding this. But like this should work too. So like that's a bug too. Okay, define, we do this. Like this should work. Cuz like I do have this here. Why is that not doing the thing? Something's up. Okay, where did fake syntax rules come from? All right, let's try this. What the heck? Syntax case expert. What if I just take that out? Does it work then? No. Everything is broken. Okay, let's try that. It's supposed to be this. Syntax case syntax is supposed to be. Okay, so it's screwing up because because of this begin. I see. The begin is messing this up. So we'll do, I don't know. This is not my finest work. List ref. I mean, what if that? I doubt that shit's gonna work, but you know what? No. Isn't it supposed to be a flat list? It's supposed to be a flat list. I think it's supposed to be a flat list, but I don't quite understand why it's not a flat list. It would be like what is name expr? Like, why is it begin? Okay, something is up. Something is up. The macro hell is actually awful. Okay, so we're getting an implicit begin here in the lambda body. Right. That makes sense. Now the question is, why am I getting it here and not elsewhere? So I guess it's just like if it is if that, then just cutter, else normal, I suppose. Horrendous code. World's worst code just dropped. World's worst code just dropped. Wake up, honey. Of course, man. Name expert isn't even a thing. Still not. Maybe it's the wrong spot. Oh my god, I'm going in circles. You know what? You're so right. Pick the theme. Pick the theme. It's kind of nice. One's kind of nice. Tokyo Night Storm. Oh, that's a great theme. It's a great theme. That was a daily driver for a long time. Long time daily driver. Oh man. That's a nice theme. You can really see everything. Okay, this isn't going very well. I thought we were cooking. Absolutely not. Absolutely not cooking. I still am like just really confused as to what is happening. Because I thought this was working entirely. Oh man. We're hitting this begin business, which is screwing up everything. Just screwing up everything. So I really just need to. I mean, I could just do like something. Could do something not my favorite. What is happening? Okay, okay. Actually, I'm looking at the wrong thing. So we still look at syntax. And syntax is the thing that's goofed up. The syntax case expert. The syntax case expert is itself a begin. All but last. Could say like what is syntax here? Going in circles today. Absolutely going in circles. This is tough for the brand. Okay, so this is define syntax. Okay, so this is the expr. But then I assume body exprs, it assumes coming in that it's flat. Okay. Okay. Don't know where this implicit begin is coming from. But it's still doing the thing. Why is it still doing the thing? Updating. Okay, we're simply not even getting there. Okay, we're saying it's a list. Okay, it is a list. Or is syntax... No, syntax case expert? Man, I'm all messed up. Something is deeply incorrect. Maybe I'm in here. Oh. I'm in the wrong case. We need to be down here. Okay. So we're in here. Let me just validate my assumptions here. Okay, now I'm not chasing ghosts. Okay. So the issue is my lambda expr is goofy. That's my guess. Yeah, lambda x begin. So I'm dropping. Okay, it's here. Okay. Because drop lambda expert 2, I think, produces a begin. Which is a sequence, which I don't want. Yeah. 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 So that's a bit odd. What was lambda expert? Why would that be a... Oh. Okay. Because if it was... It would be a list of expressions. Okay. So then I'm going to say like... Like if... If it's equal to 3... See, this is where the destructuring would go crazy. But I haven't... I really don't want to pull it out for this. TurboTax add. Sorry about that. I've seen those ads quite a bit. They're everywhere. It is tax season. For us employed folks. You've never done... How have you never done taxes, man? The IRS will find you. A guy said the IRS is illegal and unconstitutional. You know, he can try. He can do his best, but I think they make the rules. And I think the guys who make the rules decide whether or not it's illegal and unconstitutional. Okay, so they have... We're now going to do drop lambda expert 2. This is not good. This will get changed. But we're going to do car. We're going to do car cot cutter. What do I have? I want to take car and then cutter. Okay. Car resulted in an error. Take the car of this. Oh boy, oh boy. It doesn't like that? We don't like cutter there? Because car would be that, and then cutter. Am I crazy? Apparently I'm crazy. Hmm? What is cotter? Am I all mixed up? Oh, it's I need kadar. I need kadar, not cutter. Words uttered by the utterly deranged. I need kadar instead of kuditter. No? What? Oh, I need to do it down here. What? What are we doing here? Where what is going on? No, I don't have a macro. Let's see yours. Let's see Paul Allen's. Curious. Because I need the cutter of the car. We can't be doing that on the stream, unfortunately. Like, this is what I want, though. Wait, no, that's still not right. This is crazy. What? Why am I, like, losing my freaking... Okay. Maybe that? Everything I do is I'm going in circles today. Okay. I was just off by one, and I didn't see it. Okay, this is really bad. Okay, awesome. So now we're back. We're back at free identifier in this godforsaken godforsaken land. Okay. Lisp OnlyFans. That'd go crazy. Okay, and then I said free identifier equals. We're gonna just do like X and Y, and it's just gonna return true. Okay. It only took like a whole hour. And I smell the dinner out there. I smell the dinner. It's crazy. Okay. What's for dinner? Some chicken, some rice, and some peas. Something simple. If it doesn't build, you don't eat. Ooh. I really want to get this part working though. So like what happens if I call conned like it said? Maybe a Reuben. Reuben sounds good. With either definition of conned. I still don't understand this syntax. I still don't understand the syntax. Like, in syntax, maybe I need to just read the frickin' syntax case spec or something. I don't know, man. Let's just read about it in Guile. Pattern guard. Okay, so I don't handle this correctly. I can tell you that for real. So we attach a guard clause. Okay, I simply don't implement guard clauses. All right. So that's something I got to do. That's fine. I can do that. We don't have guard clauses. I'll implement those. So this So the guard clause is like right before the thing. And that just like raises an error. Am I understanding this correctly? Gold, Silver, Electrum as the most recent implementer of a scheme. Do you understand what guard clauses are? Invalid add one because we attach the guard clause to the pattern. So like right before a pattern, everything going up to the pattern is a guard clause. Okay, that's fine. You don't understand. I'm not even joking. My manager told me today that he was up till 3 a.m. working on vibe coding. I was like, what are we doing, man? It's like, go to bed. How often are you locked out because you've expended your tokens? I agree. Going to sleep is the move. I love sleeping, man. It's a beautiful day today. Walk the dog, you know, you already know the vibe. All right, so we got these this is the guard clauses. All right. Let's just I don't have those done yet. You're reaching your limit for the month. That's crazy. So then if I go check Grift, the commits are going to be like handwritten, or are you just going to call it quits? You're done. Or is it going to be like Or you're gonna start like swapping. So you've been using Copilot. Yeah, another account and fork it. Okay. That's crazy work. It's crazy work. Okay, I need to figure out how to implement these guards. Got to do that. I think I understand how, but for now I'm going to pretend they don't exist. Cuz that so like what happens if I run this in Racket? I do like hello, and then I do like non-standard. Sorry, my bad. I'm using non-standard stuff. That's my bad. That's my bad. God forbid I do anything unique. Come on, what is this about? Why can't I do this? Okay. Okay, that worked. Okay, sweet. Sweet. Okay, so that does do the thing. Okay. So now I already forgot what I was trying to do. Okay, so we don't have these guards, which is fine. Let's just see if this is like glued together correctly. Okay. And then I need to actually invoke Cond. Lord knows if this will work. I like get scared every time I try to pull an example like this because it'll be like, oh, actually, like it doesn't work at all. Okay, it does do something, so that's good. So now I gotta remove some more prints. Just so I can see what the heck is going on. Okay, so what is happening? Why would you abuse scheme.org like that, man? Okay, what is it? What does it say it's supposed to do? That's a great question. See, this says this does not write oops. Mine write oops. Mine writes oops. Since else is bound lexically and is therefore not the same else that appears in the definition of cond. That sucks. Just continuously find more bugs. If I call this one what happens? It also calls oops. I mean, it is like hygienic minus the parts that aren't in many ways. Oh, man. This is because this is bound lexically. I don't even know what fexpert is. I'm going to be honest with you. Oh, maybe I do know this. Oh, yeah. I don't know, man. It's all a bit too much for me. It's all a bit too much sauce. A little bit too much sauce. I don't know why this is matching, I'll be honest. Oh, Haskell Curry? The goat himself? The goat himself? Oh, man. I may have to call it here. I'm kind of tired, boss. Well, argument currying is named after Haskell, no? Thank you. I made big moves. I haven't spent a lot of time working on this, so I think I know the problem here too. The pattern matcher. I believe I keep. I mean, fuck, dude. I'm already here. I might as well check. It's like bind. It's like bind, or is it like bindings or something? Freaking. Yeah, it's like down here. I'll give it like 2 seconds. It's like it's matching the cases. I call this recursive match. I don't remember if I'm passing in the lexical, like the current, like the local bindings for the matching. And I don't remember if that's the case. Collect bindings. It doesn't look like it. But I thought... Okay, when I collect the bindings, because collecting the bindings is different from matching the case. I thought. Right, I match the case. Yeah, maybe I'm missing some fundamental components here for expansion. I need to keep track of the... I swear I was doing this though, so maybe I'm missing something. Because like when I match, and I match a pattern, I match a single pattern perhaps. When we match a single pattern, I guess I am just checking if the identifier matches, which is incorrect. So maybe something was lost in translation some time ago. That's okay. I'll probably work on that after dinner, but I probably won't stream it. Anyway, I think that's going to be it, though. I have to get some food. Thanks, everybody, for watching. Appreciate it. We made a lot of progress today. A lot of progress, and we'll keep making progress. We'll keep making progress. All right. Catch y'all later. Peace.